So the short answer is yeah, they really are. Roll intro. Hey, welcome back, my people. Happy day wherever you are. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome back to the studio. So very glad you are here. Man, I've been working on and thinking about this episode a lot, and I am really excited to talk about the question of the day and hopefully answer the question that Matt Fradd asked in a previous podcast. Matt Fradd, if you actually watched this, thank you. And I would love to hear your feedback on whether or not we actually addressed the question that you asked in your episode with Father Leg. So before we jump into that though, a couple of quick things. Really thankful for the opportunity. If you watch this before July 29th, then check out Den of Zealots. I will be doing a live interview with him on the 29th at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So check that out. If you are watching this after 7:30 on the 29th, then please go check out his channel, watch the interview. Hopefully we're going to go for an hour or more, and we're going to talk about all things Catholic, beautiful iconography. I am really excited. It's going to be fun. I've watched some of his content, and I'm excited to sit down with David and talk about, the Blue Jays are excited, to talk about things that I get excited talking about. So that's coming up. I'll try to promote that on the social media stuff. Get out there, check that out. Tune in, watch that. Let's get him a bunch of views. I'd love to have a bunch of my people from the channel over there watching. It'll be my, well, anyways, I'd love to have a bunch of people over there. So do that. Also, I've had several people reach out and ask, how do I commission an icon? Do you have icons for sale? The short answer, yes. Yes, I do. And yes, you can. Please, I would love for you to do that. The easiest way to do that is go to my website, GarrettHines.com. Check out the contact page. Send me a message through that. What you are wanting to, what do you want to commission? What are you thinking? And we can talk details through that. I'll put a link in the description below for that contact page so you can jump straight to that. You can also go there and see some of the icons I've written in the past. I would say that I'm working towards a style. I don't know that I have found my authentic style yet, and I'm okay with that. As an artist, it takes a long time to find that, and I'm still sorting it out as an iconographer, and I love the journey of figuring that out. So, all that said, if you want to commission an icon, yes, by all means, go to the contact page, do that. We have a bunch of new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who is liking the video, subscribing, filling out comments. Please keep doing all the algorithm things. My heart for this channel is to equip and empower and inspire my Catholic brothers and sisters and my not yet Catholic brothers and sisters on all things related to the beauty of our faith. So please like, subscribe, do all that stuff so that we can continue to get this channel out to more faithful Catholics and more people who are considering exploring the Catholic faith and what it teaches. So all of that said, whoever it is, please put the start time in the comments. I really do appreciate that. That actually, if you're on a time crunch, that's helpful. So let's talk about the question that Matt Fradd asked in his long-form interview with Father Dominic Legg. Before I get to answering the question, here is the question that he asked.
Just mean the traditional liturgy. I'm saying I'm setting the bar much lower. I'm like, why would anyone decide to make ugly buildings? I don't understand. We drove past the church today and it was just embarrassingly ugly. And I don't know why we did that. And I don't know if it was because, I have no idea, because clearly they didn't think it was ugly.
All right, so you can see that really the question is, why on earth did we as a church accept the idea of building and creating ugly churches? And there's the answer to that has multiple layers. And the first layer I want to talk about is, well, if we have ugly churches, then what are beautiful churches? And before we even get to what are beautiful churches, what is the point of beauty? Why is beauty a transcendental? And why does it matter? If we have the truth and we have goodness, what role does beauty play, and why is it one of the three transcendentals? And I have made the argument in the past with several people in conversations that I think beauty is the transcendental. Morning traffic. I think beauty is the transcendental that opens the door to the other two transcendentals. Meaning, if you are coming from no faith of any kind, no religion of any kind, let's say you've never heard of Christianity ever at all at any point in your life, I believe that beauty is the thing that will draw you in and then turn you loose to discover the other two transcendentals of truth and goodness. And if that's true, okay, then what do we mean when we say beauty? And coming as an artist, I want to address kind of the dichotomy between art and beauty. Not all art is beautiful. Not all architecture is beautiful, as we are discussing today. Beauty is something separate from art. Some art is beautiful, some art is not. Most of modern art, most of contemporary art, most of the last many years has been art, yes, beautiful. By and large, no. And we see that in the architecture of our churches. So beauty, the purpose of beauty, and this is how I explain it to people when I'm having conversations. The purpose of beauty is to draw us from where we are upward, right? It is to fill the soul with awe so as to pull the soul upward, right? A beauty is all about drawing us from where we are to an upward ascent. It is about getting from the current moment to something that is higher and more elevated than we are. And ultimately, that beauty should draw us all the way up to God, the author of beauty, who is the ultimate embodiment. Maybe that's not the right word, but I'm going to use it. God is the ultimate embodiment of beauty. And so the truly beautiful things are those things that draw our hearts upward. So think about if you've ever walked into a mass and there's Gregorian chant. There is something about the nature of those sounds that captivate our heart and elevate it upward to God. If you've ever seen a Rembrandt or another piece of Renaissance art, there is something that just captivates the heart and then draws it away from itself and upward. That's why I get so frustrated with our modern churches and our modern art, because it's not doing that. It's not captivating in our heart and drawing it upward. It's actually captivating our heart and keeping us in the place where we are in our brokenness and in our fallen humanity. So a good example of what I mean by this, like beauty that captivates and draws us up. You know, you think of Prince Vladimir in the late 900s. Prince Vladimir wants to bring religion to his country, to Russia, what is now Russia. And so he sends out these envoys to go and explore all the different religions. And some of the envoys go to what's called Hagia Sophia. It's this, well, what used to be a church. It's not, well, I don't know how you would currently define it. It used to be a Catholic church. And so these envoys go to Hagia Sophia in Constantinople in the late 900s, right before the Great Schism. So this is still Catholic history. This is not just Eastern Orthodox history. This is our Catholic history. These envoys go to Hagia Sophia and they go they get there during Divine Liturgy. And they enter in and they come back to Prince Vladimir and they tell him that when they entered into Hagia Sophia and they entered into the Divine Liturgy, these blue jays are like screaming babies during the homily. They enter in to the Divine Liturgy and they come back and they report to Prince Vladimir that they could no longer tell that they were on earth. They had entered into a different plane of existence because the beauty that they witnessed pulled them upward into a new reality, into a different, more elevated reality. That's what beauty is supposed to do. And so when you go to a truly beautiful church, when you go to those great cathedrals in Europe, When you go to some of the beautiful churches that were before this movement of ugly church making, you see this same thing happen. Because a beautiful church is supposed to put you into this state where you have left the earthly things and entered into a shadow of the reality that is the kingdom of heaven. Now, I'm not saying that this is true for all churches. There are modern churches built within this period that I would call the ugly church movement that are gorgeous. A great example of this would be a church that was finished in College Station at St. Mary's. St. Mary's is one of the most beautiful churches I have seen built in the modern era, bar none. It is gorgeous. Everything about that space gives me the feeling that I have left the broken, fallen world and entered into a tiny, shadowy sliver of what heaven is going to be like. And that's what churches are supposed to do. They're supposed to make us feel as though we have left earth and entered into the presence of God in such a way that our hearts are drawn into the heart of God. That's why there's all of this intricate architecture, and I wish I understood architectural language better, but things like buttresses and arches and all these alcoves where you see statues and icons, the whole thing is meant to be a prefigurement to the reality that we will dwell in the kingdom of heaven. That's what a beautiful church is supposed to do. But what we have now in this modern era are a bunch of churches that do not do that. And the question that Matt Fradd asks is why? Why did we do that? You see, the idea is that if beauty, true beauty, is meant to draw us upward, meant to draw us into goodness, it's also meant to challenge us to become the people who dwell in that space in heaven, right? When you're surrounded by icons and statues of saints, your heart has that moment of like, I'm not there yet. And it should encourage us to keep climbing and keep pursuing God to the fullest. But somewhere along the way, in this modern era, and I want to be charitable and I want to be careful here, people who were in charge of making the artistic decisions of our churches bought into what I would argue is the lie of the seeker-friendly area, space, liturgy, and no longer wanted to challenge people to pursue that life in a beautiful kingdom of heaven. So they created these spaces that have been nullified of all their beauty. Beauty has been remodeled into these blank, amoebic, weird, non-specific reflections of the kingdom of heaven. They're just warehouses with bland walls and hardly any beauty at all. And we did that because many, I would argue, didn't want to be challenged, didn't want to pursue the ever upward climb of union with God that required us to let go of our fallenness and pursue virtue and pursue Christ and dwell in the space of the beauty of heaven. And there was also this, like, we don't want to create spaces that make the uninitiated feel uncomfortable. We want the seeker to feel comfortable and, not weird. And okay, fair enough. Like, I understand the heart behind that. As somebody who spent a lot of time in missions trying to reach the unreached, I understand that sentiment. It's like what St. Thomas Aquinas says, like, we don't pursue evil because we want evil. There was some version of good intent in our hearts that led us to make the choices we made. And to be charitable, I think most people who wanted to build ugly churches didn't think of them as ugly. They thought of them as spaces that might be more comfortable for people who weren't initiated in the Catholic way of doing things. Fair enough. But I think we have enough data now and enough experience now to look at these churches to look at these churches and go, you know what, this isn't working. And I think we're starting to see that. Places like St. Mary's are being built that harken back to a time when we built churches that were ridiculously beautiful and were supposed to be what they are supposed to be. Reflections of the great and beautiful kingdom of heaven. And so I think people built these ugly churches because they wanted it to be more seeker friendly. And this is a problem in the Protestant church, even more so than in the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Church. I think of all the different iterations of Christianity, I think the Eastern Orthodox are still doing this to the highest. Like their churches, I don't know that they've gone through an ugly church phase, whereas we have. But in Protestantism, my experience as a Protestant, I mean, outside of maybe a few of the high church Protestant iterations, like Anglican, Presbyterian, and I'll say especially amongst evangelical non-denominational churches, what you get are these big warehouse buildings with space to serve coffee and uber generic decoration. And I've been to a lot of these different churches before we converted to Catholicism. And they're just not pretty. And they're not pretty because they don't point our hearts upward to the beauty of God with specificity. And that's what frustrates me. And as I reflect currently on the way I've been speaking, you might sense my frustration. And I pick up on Matt Fradd's frustration as he asked this question and had this conversation with Father Legg. Not Doctor, Father Legg. There is a frustration among those of us who love beauty. We need to get back to a place where our churches reflect the majesty and the beauty of God. I think that would do more for the church in terms of bringing new people in than it would any of the other things that we could do. Yes, there are things about the liturgy that I would like to see changed and other people would like to see changed. But I think even before that, I think if we start renovating and building helicopter, take your time. I think even before we change the liturgy, if we renovated the current churches and built new, gorgeous, immaculate, beautiful churches that really do reflect the kingdom of heaven, I think we would see more people enter into the church. You know why? Here's why. Because so much of the world right now is ugly. We have ugly buildings, we have generic spaces, we have awfulness all around us. And people are seeking God. And I think they want to do that in a space that is infinitely different than the ugliness of the world they spend most of their time in. I think if we made beautiful churches, people would come in droves just to be inside of a space that was filled with peace and filled with beauty and drew them upward into the goodness that their soul is seeking. Now, having said all of that, I don't want this to just be a rant video. I want to land this plane and hopefully encourage us with what to do, right? Because maybe you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I go to one of those ugly modern parishes. And if that's you, truly sorry. I know that is a challenging cross to bear. And maybe you don't. Maybe you go to a gorgeous church. Maybe your church is one of those older, beautiful. There's a parish in our area, St. Anthony's. It's amazing. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful parish. Our parish, St. Thomas Aquinas, is interesting. It rides the line between modern bleh and beautiful. I, full confession, have sat in Mass at times and thought about all the many different ways that I would renovate our sanctuary to make it a grander reflection of the kingdom of heaven. So what do we do? What are some things that we can do? Number one, I would encourage you to find something in your parish that's beautiful. There has to be something in your parish that is beautiful, that can give your heart the awe it's looking for. Maybe it's the stained glass windows. Maybe it's not even the stained glass windows. Maybe it's the way that the light comes through the stained glass windows in spring. In our parish, I particularly, there's an ant. I particularly enjoy and am filled with awe in the fall winter season when the sun is shifted and is pouring through the stained glass windows and you can see the beams of light in all their multifaceted color as they're coming through the windows. I look forward to that every year. It's amazing. But there's other things about our parish that are beautiful that I appreciate. So, like, really look around, explore your parish, find those one or two things that are beautiful and just hold tight to those. The other thing is I would practice gratitude. What is it about your parish that you're grateful for? Is it the people? Is it the way the Mass is celebrated? Like, what are some things that, if you'll just hang tight to gratitude, it will eventually wear away at the sadness of, oh, our parish is one of those ugly modern ones. And then the last thing I would say, and this is where I challenge myself in this, because I've been guilty of this in the past. If your parish decides to renovate, if your parish decides, hey, we want to make this space more beautiful, we want to make this more traditionally, authentically beautiful, pony up, get involved, give to the church, get on the board that helps make the decisions, do something, especially financial, that is going to help your parish do that. Don't be one of those people. Don't be them. You know who they are. Don't point fingers. Don't be one of those people that says, oh, boo-hoo, our parish is ugly. And then when it comes time to renovate and the church needs financial help, you're like, no thanks. Don't do that. That's where I'm looking in the mirror. Well, technically I'm looking in the little viewfinder. But I look at myself because our parish is talking about the possibility of, doing some beautification. And when that time comes, I need to be prepared to sacrifice for our parish so that we can make it the beautiful space and the little slice of heaven that it's supposed to be. So hopefully I hope that gives you somewhere to land and not just like lament, oh, we have ugly churches, but some practical things that I think we can all do to make the spaces that we have spaces of worship that inspire our hearts, even if it's the tiniest little piece of beauty that we cling to. That's all I have for you today. Please like, subscribe, do all the things. Help me to continue growing this channel. I love this community, man. There's so many encouraging things, in the comments, and I'm just thankful for everybody that tunes in and watches this. So keep doing that. Going to have another episode for you this week. Until I see you next time, keep climbing.